Christy Summers with Gardening Volunteers of South Texas. We're in the front yard of Catherine over here in Chavano Park, Bexar County, and we're going to ask her where her design ideas came, because when she bought this home, it was all dirt. So we want her to tell us how she became infatuated with this beautiful design, the drought-tolerant plants, and how she decided what she was going to do with her front yard. So Catherine, give us a little tour.
Well, I was interested in being sure that I was responsible with water usage, and I worked with a landscaper, and he came up with a design that included a bed here in the front that went all the way around to the side. So with the landscaper's input, we decided to do a berm here in the center around these trees and put some interesting plants that were drought tolerant. The columbine have done beautifully here. They've reseeded themselves over the time frame. I've added some Gerber daisies, which have done excellent here. We also had some lantana, which is just now starting. They will be blooming by late summer. I've added some calla lilies, which love to be here. The Yopon holly was a drought tolerant plant that gave some green around the year.
I just like it. I like the colors. I like the dimensions. I like the different colors of the leaves, the shapes of the leaves. It just gives it a lot to look at. It's beautiful. I love how you did this. I'm sure the trees are happy with you.
I think the landscape also paying attention to being sure that you always have some green. There are some things that die back, like lantana, and so you still want to have something green in your yard. And I always try to find something that's also blooms throughout the year so that I always have something blooming.
Yeah, it's very, very pretty. We're at the home of Catherine. She's in Chavano Park over here in Bexar County. We were in her yard last year. We loved her yard for the Water Saver Landscape Tour for 2021. So what impressed me when we were here is her rain harvesting catchment. So I really want to talk to her today and have her explain to our audience how she bought a home, designed her home and her yard, what her problems were, and how she problem solved them with rain barrels and her water catching. So let's take us to your first tank. It is your rain barrel from Saws, and show us what you did, how you did it, how long it takes, and then we'll go around your beautiful yard and see all your hidden water tanks.
Okay.
All right, Catherine, we're over here at the front of your garage. You have your rain barrel here, and here's your little pump. So explain to us why you did this here and how you use your pump.
Well, this rain barrel actually came from Saws a few years ago when they had a special program. And I actually get a lot of water off of this part of my roof. I have a metal roof. I had the gutter people actually adjusted the downspout so that it would come at the right level. I also raised it up on some cement blocks. That way I can put a watering can underneath here to collect water when I need it.
That's smart.
The other thing is there's a downspout, an overflow spout that comes off of this tank, and so I keep that into my watering can, because with a metal roof you actually get a fair amount of dew that comes off the roof, and it can frequently fill up that can overnight.
Wow.
And
that's amazing.
The other thing is this is actually one of 9 small tanks that I have.
Oh my gosh, I'm so
excited.
excited.
I had them located around the house. And the other thing I found out is I could get a small pump. This is a 1.5 horsepower pump that I can connect a hose directly to the outspout here and put a flexible hose and actually water my front yard. or my plants in my courtyard in pots
And
with
by
with the
hand.
water
Okay.
by hand.
That's
And
great.
so it's a perfect way to use a natural resource that once you invest in getting the tank and getting the gutters hooked up, you have water when you need it.
You're good to go.
I
Awesome.
also collect water in 2-liter soda bottles because frequently this will fill up and I can empty it out and it will fill up some more from the dew.
Yeah.
And I've got water to put away for later.
Yeah, and then you flip them and put them in your pots and stuff. Awesome. Well, let's go around the rest of the yard and let's go find where your next tank and pump is.
Sure.
Well, let's head back here to the big tank. And how many gallons is this one?
This tank is 1,480 gallons.
Texas Metal tanks out of Dripping Springs?
Yes, that's
Okay.
right.
All right. And how did you decide this size?
Well, because our homeowners association required that we not have anything that's viewable from the street,
Okay.
I had to keep it at a certain height so you couldn't see it from the street.
Okay.
And then I only had a limited space to put it, and this was the best place that wouldn't interrupt my backyard. Couldn't have it in the front yard.
So the gutter system kind of comes into this too. I see the PVC
Right.
pipe comes down and then it's tied into your pump supply over here.
Right, so the gentleman that put it in actually made the bigger PVC pipe that would help draw the water better than just a smaller, regular gutter.
Gutter, yeah.
And so this drains from the roof. And of course with anything, it's the real estate on your roof that allows the amount of water to flow into a tank, plus
so the
how
square
much rain
footage.
you're
I
getting.
gotcha.
So the other thing this tank has, it has a little float in it so I can tell how full it is. And because we haven't had much rain and I have used it,
The float's way down there.
The float's way down there.
That's what that
so
is.
it's almost empty.
Let me see. So this goes up as the rain comes in.
Correct.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
It also has an overflow valve on the other side, so when it gets full, it will flow water down and out, down to the back of the yard.
Okay. And then this is your pump supply house. And so how do you use this with the pump?
So actually, this was designed so that it could actually be connected to my sprinkler system. Oh. And one of the requirements is when you do that, you have to have a backflow preventer, which I have in the front of the yard,
Okay.
so that you don't get this rainwater mixed in with city water.
Okay.
But for extra assurance, I always turn that off so that if I'm using my sprinkler system, it's not going to do it anyway.
Right.
So you
Don't
can
want
use
that,
it,
Bill.
you can use it that way, but you can also, there's also a spigot. So when I turn that on and I have it hooked to a little hose, one of those little crinkly bullet hoses.
Yeah, they're great.
It will actually, when I turn the water on, the pump will automatically start, and then you'll have water under pressure that you can water with.
Wow, that's
And
great.
that's a 100-foot hose. So actually with that hose, I can water mostly all the way to the back of the yard, and I can go into the courtyard with that.
Oh my gosh.
And use this water to
Okay.
water my plants.
Because I know you have your vegetables mixed in with your plants too, that I
Right.
was very impressed with. But
So-
yeah, and this is also well hidden. I mean, it's nice, but it doesn't look commercial.
Right.
You can blend it
Yes.
very nicely into your landscape. I love it.
And so there are lots of little different tanks, but this one seemed like the nicest one, and it's worked really well.
Okay. So Catherine, thanks again for having us out in your yard today. And hopefully it's going to rain all week. And we'll
Fill up
see
my
you on our
barrels.
next video.
Yes.
Hi, welcome back. Christy Summers with Gardening Volunteers of South Texas. We're out here in Boerne, Texas at the home of Mike Smiley in Kendall County. He moved here roughly over 20 years ago, and you had well water. So he decided he was going to do a large project with harvesting rainwater. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Sure, I was out here 7 years when the droughts were hitting neighbors' wells were drying up, so they had to drill deeper, and I thought, well, let me look into rainwater, and it was the thing to do, so.
Wow. So you've made a lot of changes to your home,
Yes.
your gutter system, piping,
Yep.
and the tank. So
Yep.
we want to see what you did out here in Boerne, Texas. So you want to show us?
Yes, let's go ahead and we'll start down by the tanks. We'll talk a little bit about how much you can catch and then move on up the system.
Awesome. Sounds good. Let's go. Well, Mike, we're down here by your large tank. So explain to me how you designed this, what everything is, and how you took care of things during the freeze the last couple of years.
Okay, first of all, say what you need is tanks, PVC pipe, a 1 horsepower motor, and some filters.
So what's this black thing here?
That's one of the filters right here, and that's the first one on the system. Now, how much water do you collect with an inch of rain? You go by how many square feet your roof is on flat. If 1,000 square feet, 1 inch of rain will give you 600 gallons of water. I have 2,200 square feet, so 1 inch of rain gives me 1,200 gallons of water. It's gravity fed from the roof through PVC pipe. Down here, water pressure pushes it up this 7 feet into a centrifugal filter, has a little basket in it, swirls, the leaves come down, the water comes up there, the leaves come out this way, and the water goes on into the tank. The tanks are in series, so when the first one fills, then it goes to the second one, it goes to the third one. Now, they're green and they're dark green, and they found that dark green works better than black because if bacteria doesn't see sunlight, it can't grow.
That's good.
So you can keep this water forever as long as you don't let sunlight get to it.
Okay.
Right? So now, the water comes through here, runs down here, fills up all 4 tanks, and then there's a drain on the end. You could have more tanks, or the excess just flows out.
So with these 4, how much water?
5,000 gallons a tank.
Wow.
And you did have, I did bring in a load of rock mixed with clay just to give it a little base, because 5,000 gallons of water is pretty heavy.
I imagine.
So you want to set it. Now each one has its own valve, so you can just open one, and this first one's the open one right now, so that's what I'm using. Or you can open all 4 and it brings all the tanks down at the same. I prefer to use one tank, and I normally always keep one tank full.
And you have these insulated.
And then I insulated these, unfortunately, after the big freeze, because all 4 of them cracked. So they're wrapped in an insulation, they're wrapped in another insulation, and then they're duct taped. And on top of it now I've built little boxes that are insulated and set over the top of them for the winter.
Okay, so you've taken your cover off of your 1 horsepower pump here. So please tell me how this works.
Okay, first of all, the water coming from the roof is all gravity fed into the tanks. Now, to push it back up to my shed where I have my filters for drinking, I need this to push the water back up the hill into the shed.
Okay. And how often do you have to use this?
Oh, if I have it turned on to use just rainwater, then this is on all the time. I mean, it doesn't run unless I turn something on.
Okay, so if the well runs dry, you've got drinking
If the well
water.
runs dry, which at 17 years point, the well pump in the ground, 400 feet down, went out. I just did the switch from well water to rainwater.
That's nice.
And we lived on it.
So how often do you have to replace your motor here?
I've never replaced it. That's original from 2006.
Wow, that's awesome. But there are, filters and other things to water systems. How often do you have to replace those?
The filters are every year. Every May I put 3 new filters in. This is a standalone because it's all metal.
Okay.
But we'll look at the filters up in the shed.
Okay, a couple $100 a year. in
$200
filters.
bucks.
Hey, that's a deal. Awesome. Well, thank you. Let me help you put the cap back on.
All right.
Okay, so we're up here in the pump house. So explain to me how this all works in here.
Okay. First of all, this is a pressure tank, and that pump, that was all here because I needed that for the well.
Okay.
Bring the water up out of my well tank and into the house. So they just came in and tapped in at this point. All right. So the water comes in and goes through, before it ever goes into the house, through a 3-filter system. Pretty much for sediment and that type things. There's a different one in each one. These are just the casings, screw off, filter drops out. Then the water goes through here, which is a UV light. The UV light's in a glass tube, sealed, and the water goes down around the tube, and the UV light kills anything else that's in the water.
Okay.
And then it's on into the house.
Oh, great.
So if I turn on the irrigation system, it's going to the irrigation system. If I turn on something in the house, it's going into the house.
And outside of the pump house, you've got the little thing where you can switch back and
Yeah,
forth.
and there's a switch outside the house here that I can go from well to rainwater.
Okay,
If
awesome.
you notice, I've got everything wrapped and insulated. This was a lesson learned after the freeze, is none of the pipes in here broke, but they did freeze up so I couldn't get water into the house, either from the well or the rainwater. Okay. And I had a heater, but as we all know, our grid didn't work, so we would be without water for 4 hours, then we'd have it for an hour. So that's when I decided to insulate it, and I may still use the electric heater as an add-on.
Well, Mike, I just really want to thank you today for inviting us out to your home and showing us this large water containment that you have here on your property. So I want you to tell the audience why it's important out here in the hill country with the aquifers.
Well, one of the reasons is they keep building out here in the hill country. So that means more and more tapping into the different aquifers out here. And as wells go dry, you got to have a backup system and save some of the water and the rainwater when you can collect 1,000 square feet. 1 inch gives you 600 gallons of water.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, for you in the audience, we want you to know you can start with 1 rain barrel. Gardening Volunteers in South Texas, we have events. We have e-coupons with saws that will help you get rain barrels. Start with 1, grow to others. Just make sure you get them gutters in because that's what helps you catch all that rain. Hi, Christy Summers with Gardening Volunteers of South Texas. We are down in South Bexar County and I'm here with Heather with saws. We are at the Stephen M. Klaus Water Recycle Center. This is the largest water recycling center for San Antonio. So why we are here today is we want to teach you that all the water that comes into your house, how to properly use it in your house to help the city of San Antonio keep our water as clean as possible. So Heather's going to give us a guided tour today on what this plant does and how it comes back to you. So please help us conserve water properly.
Thank you for that nice welcome. Yes, this is the largest water recycling center that SAWS operates. Every single thing that goes down your drains and down the toilet after you flush makes its way to one of our 3 water recycling centers. Today we're going to go inside. We're going to learn a little bit about all the steps that dirty water has to go through to get clean. But we're ultimately really going to focus on the very innovative sustainability elements right here at this plant that makes it a national leader in sustainability.
So Heather, this is the step 1 of the water recycling plant. So everything you flush down the toilet comes here. That's why I'm getting that wonderful smell of aroma.
Yes, Christy.
Okay, well, show us what we got here.
All right. So yes, so you're right. This is one of the first steps that the dirty water that San Antonio sends us goes through. And yes, it smells so bad because here is where we are removing all of the inorganics from the wastewater stream. So when I say inorganic materials, unfortunately what I'm talking about is trash. Things that the people from our city should have put into the trash can to begin with. Oh. So unfortunately, it's pretty clear to me that a lot of people are thinking of their trash cans like they are a magical toilet, but of course they are not.
That's not good.
So let me show you some of the stuff that we collect here. So
okay.
This is what we call the screening step, okay? So here is where all of that dirty water goes through the spaces in between those metal bars. The wastewater, it goes on to the next step. But all that trash is going to get hung up on the bar screens, and then the conveyor is going to rotate up. We're going to separate out all that trash, and then it's going to go into a conveyor system where the water all gets squeezed out of it, and it drops into a big trash receptacle, and it's going to go to the landfill where it should have gone to begin with.
People literally throw that down the toilet.
Yep, you'll see ramen bags in there, chip bags in there. You'll see condoms in there, feminine products in there, diapers in there, breakfast taco wrappers, candy wrappers. But the bulk of what you see in the trash are those so-called flushable wipes.
Oh no.
Those things that a lot of adults are using now in their restrooms, like toilet paper, that they should never ever be flushed. They contain microplastics, and they will never dissolve in water. And they are our #1 expense when it comes to recycling wastewater for our entire city. They cost us millions of dollars a year in clogs, manpower, and broken equipment.
Oh my God.
So treat the sewer system like the way you treat your own sewer system at home. And please do not flush this stuff, because in the long run, it ends up costing all of us. So only flush the 3 P's, y'all. Poop, pee, and paper. Toilet paper only.
Got that, the 3 P's. So Heather, we have the 3 P's. So the second P is poop. Where does that go?
The poop, or we like to call that the biosolids, all of that solid material goes in one of those huge tanks over there called a solids digester.
Oh.
So it's going to stay in there for about 25 days. And as it's digesting, just like our digestive systems digest and we create gas, so do the solids digesters. They create a lot of gas though. And we used to just burn this gas off into the air. And I don't need to tell you that that just doesn't sound very good for climate change, let alone our own air quality that we breathe here in San Antonio. So you'll be happy to know we don't do that anymore.
Okay.
This was the first and only wastewater plant in this entire nation that recycled the digester gas. So
wow.
We partnered with a natural gas company that harvests the natural gas off of the top of the digesters. We do not burn it off into the air anymore. We send it to the natural gas company that cleans it up and sells it back on the natural gas market. So we have created a renewable resource of natural gas right here in our city.
Awesome.
So let's go check out what we do with the solid material, and that'll complete the day.
Awesome, let's go. So Heather, the poop gets taken out of the tanks after 25 days and it gets piped into these big sludge areas to dry out. And then what happens with this?
Well, after the biosolids have a chance to dry out, it becomes more of like a soil consistency, which allows our bobcats and loaders to come here and scoop it up just like soil. They put it in the back of big trucks. They take it back to their soil yards where they further compost it with city leaves and trees. And then we partner with a few different companies that then make soil amendments and compost with it. And as a matter of fact, they actually sell this at my local HEB. So we make all kinds of stuff here that can help our gardens grow at home.
There you go. And I noticed the Blue Martin little tree houses here.
Christy, Sauce tries to be as sustainable as we can out here. And so in order to control the harmful, annoying pest populations, we use a integrated pest management program that we help develop with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Office, where we use the birds and parasitic wasps and natural means to keep those populations down.
I had no idea you do that. That is awesome to know. So Heather, this is the final stage after all the water's been filtrated and everything, and it's coming down to the Medina River.
That's right, Christy. This is 24 hours of processes that have happened to this water here at the plant from the time it came in till the time it's leaving. So it's gone through a lot of steps. There's a lot of science involved in this project. But yes, this is what we call the outfall. This is where the effluent is leaving. But we can just call that recycled water. Okay. And we process almost 100 million gallons of wastewater a day at this one water recycling center.
Wow.
It's very important that our viewers understand that this is still a very important resource for San Antonio,
Absolutely.
even though it's leaving, because this water, we actually send a great deal of it back to the city of San Antone to be used to water golf courses, to water plant material in city parks. Toyota uses this water in their paint plant to mix the paint, to paint the big old Tundra pickup trucks.
Oh, wow.
Microsoft uses this water. So this water is a very important resource for our city. We recycle 100% of the water that San Antonio sends us every single day.
That is amazing. You guys are awesome. Well, I just want to thank you for the tour, and let's just keep up the good work.
Hi, I'm Amanda Malukas, the Assistant General Manager at the Trinity Glen Rose Groundwater Conservation District in San Antonio, Texas. We typically receive various questions of drought conditions we experience throughout the year, and would like to go over some of those with you today. We have been monitoring our recent drought conditions across the region. With insignificant rainfall events occurring, our monitored groundwater levels of the Trinity Aquifer continuing to drop, and local utilities initiating drought reduction stages, the district went into Stage 2 water conservation measures at the beginning of May. Residents and businesses receiving their water from a public water system should follow their respective water providers' directives regarding water use practices. In our region, both the Edwards Aquifer Authority and the San Antonio Water System are in Stage 2 drought restrictions. For example, there are limitations of once-a-week watering, and everyone should be practicing this measure. The Trinity Aquifer has declined due to minimal rains over the past several months and increased production of the aquifer. We are currently experiencing extreme to severe drought conditions and have observed signs of stress on the Trinity Aquifer groundwater levels. Any voluntary conservation practices could prevent our area from reaching worsening aquifer drought conditions, or at least reduce our pace in reaching the next drought stage. Awareness of water consumption is key. Understanding that landscape watering during the summer months results in great increases in groundwater consumption. We ask that everyone practice water conservation measures regardless of irrigation system type. All these measures help protect our aquifers, and we appreciate your part in conserving our groundwater.